Hello, everybody. This is Stephen Knight, and I will be your MC today for our official presser for the release of the LSU Health Shreveport and Prize Foundation vaccination campaigns. We are so excited to be here with all of our students and our teammates from both organizations to talk about the impact that these PSAs will have on the community and the students who will be out there and are now eligible to become vaccinated. But before we start today, I just want to introduce a couple of amazing faces that are here on the screen. First, let's start with Dr. John Vancheri, who is representing LSU Health Shreveport. Dr. John Vancheri is a professor of pediatrics and the medical director for the Clinical Trials Office at LSU Health Shreveport. Dr. Vancheri educates future physicians and scientists and is engaged in numerous clinical and translational research projects. He is a principal investigator of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine clinical trial site at LSUHS, as the associate director for community outreach for the Center for Emerging Viral Threats at LSU Health Shreveport. Dr. Vancheri has worked closely with the Regional Office of Public Health throughout the COVID-19 pandemic to direct vaccination and testing programs coordinated by more than 175 strike team members in schools, prisons, nursing homes, and other congregate living facilities throughout Northwest Louisiana. Amazing. Next, we'll have Gregory Kallenberg. Gregory Kallenberg is the founder and executive director of the Prize Foundation, which is responsible for the creation of Louisiana Startup Prize, film, food, music, fashion, and comedy prizes, as well as his notable favorite, though he can't publicly admit it, Film Prize Junior. As of 2021, the Prize Foundation has contributed over $20 million in economic development for the Shreveport-Bossier area and continues to be a beacon to attract creative talent to the Northwest Louisiana region. Please give a round of applause for Gregory Kallenberg virtually. And next, Tom Johnson. He is the Film Prize Junior educator in residence and a working artist in Shreveport, Louisiana. He is a well-versed artist with an eclectic style developed over the last 15 years that can both be called fantastical and whimsical. Through his artist collective Studio Highland, he has left an unmistakable mark on Northwest Louisiana and beyond, mentoring new generations of artists. Currently, he is an educator at Caddo Career and Technology Center, where he combines his years of field experience as an artist with technology to teach the next generation how to manifest their imagined ideas into reality. And last but not least, our two wonderful student speakers here today, Edward Webster and Nick Crosby. Edward Webster is a 2021 competitor of Film Prize Junior and a graduate of Captain Shreve High School. He currently resides in Atlanta, Georgia, and in 2022 will be attending the Los Angeles Film School. In the meantime, he has ambitions about building his portfolio of work and wants to continue to channel his experiences into screenwriting. Next, Nick Crosby. Nick is a 2021 competitor of Film Prize Junior and a graduate of C.E. Byrd High School. He currently resides in Baton Rouge, where he is pursuing an education from LSU and is majoring in English and film. He has big plans to continue producing short films, but ultimately would like to move into features. Look out, because these two incredible students are going to be doing some amazing work in the future, and you will want to remember their names. Next, I'm going to bring up Dr. Vancheri, and he's going to get us started today. So Dr. Vancheri, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here, and just to introduce sort of where this all comes from and where did this start. And in the summertime, I guess in the spring, Greg was working hard on Film Prize Junior, and I was watching their billboards and seeing the excitement build about that. And at the same time, beginning to scratch my head, and you can see I've scratched a lot off, and said, to myself, how are we going to convey the message to those who are hesitant about vaccines, especially as we move and have vaccines available to younger and younger age groups, and that has continued to be a struggle in many sectors of our population. And so, as these two things were crossing in my mind, I said, well, wow, Greg's got a fantastic team of folks, and he's already identified young talent who are making film. And I said, let's talk with Greg and see what is possible to do to marry those two things together, because Greg has been a great supporter of our work and vaccinations in the community. And I felt like it was a great opportunity for me through philanthropic opportunities that I had available to support the work of Film Prize Junior and marry those things together for a public health messaging. And so it was a great honor to meet with the students who were then students, now grown men working out in the real world and learning every day to kick this off and really get them started in a summer opportunity with Greg's team and with Tom leading their work and guiding them through the development of these PSAs. So I'm very, very happy with the work that they've done, just thrilled with the outcome, and really appreciate the work, effort, time that everybody's put into it. So with that, I turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Venturi. Next, we're going to bring up the effervescent, most amazing, beautiful, luscious locks of hair, Gregory Kallenberg, to interview our students and Tom Johnson, who put together this excellent PSA project. So Gregory, we're going to bring you to the stage, and we'll bring up our students as well.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you so much. Before we jump into it, I do want to thank Dr. Venturi, all the folks at LSU Health who have done amazing things in this community. I mean, we're in a pandemic right now, and the way that we get out is by really following the advice of people like Dr. Venturi, who really, I mean, the guy's tireless. I mean, I think that I like to work a lot, and I think that when I go to bed, I look out my window and there's Venturi still kind of going around and stumping for what he needs to stump for, and really doing all the things that is important for our community to be healthy. And that's the important part. And also, we're just honored that we were picked to utilize these students to do these PSAs. I also want to thank Stephen Knight, who, of course, has done such a phenomenal job with Film Prize Junior and really getting these students into an amazing place, and also taking really what is my favorite prize and making it as successful as it's been. And then Tom Johnson, who, of course, is our educator in residence. He is everything that he looks like he is. He's an artist. He is a wackadoo creative. He is a tireless spirit, and his work and his passion and his love for what he's able to do with these students is something that made something like this possible. And before I even, let them talk a bit about themselves, I mean, for Nick and Edward and the other students that produce what they produce something incredibly important for our community, but more than that, for their community, right? I mean, the way that we stay healthy as a community is we are able to speak to all ages, people from all levels of life. And I think that these students have accomplished that. I mean, they have figured out a way, because God knows, I just turned 54. I can't speak to their generation, as my daughter tells me. But when you look at sort of Nick and Edward, they certainly can. They certainly did. That said, I would like to bring up two of the filmmakers that made PSAs. Of course, all the PSAs will be streaming online. They'll be shareable. Everything that you need to do to get these out to people so they can see them, be convinced to get a vaccine, is one of the most incredible and important things you can do as a human these days, especially as we face really going back into fall and going back into winter. We don't want to do this again. And the way that we don't is we don't do it by getting vaccinated. So that said, I'd like to bring up two very, very, very special young men, Nick and Edward. Nick, are they up on the screen with me, Stephen? Awesome. So Nick, why don't we start with you? Tell us a bit about just kind of where you are now. And I know Stephen said that you're wanting to kind of jump into the film world. Just, before we even get into the vaccine and how you got into it, how are things going in your world?
Well, hello guys. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Well, that's good. Well, right now I'm in college. I am majoring in English and film next year, and it's really good. Like my freshman year in college, like I'm still trying to get my way around things. But other than that, like I'm still like screenwriting, like making scripts in terms of like projects I want to make. And for like next year, like when I start like really doing film, I'll start making those projects like come to life. So I'm just really excited about what's coming up.
I love that. I love that. Edward, how's your world?
Hey, it's also really good as well. I moved to Atlanta in August. I've worked on like a TV show set or two just as like extra work to get the experience, but I'm really like liking life as of right now, honestly.
I love that. I love that. So let's start just really quickly. If you could tell, and either one of you guys can answer first, just about the projects you did for Film Prize Junior. And again, it's wonderful to see two incredible young men who have taken what they learned in Film Prize Junior and sort of really making it into a career. What was that like, kind of getting into Film Prize Junior and doing the projects that you did? Because we're going to get into why you were selected in a second, but if you tell kids and adults out there just a bit about Film Prize Junior and what Film Prize Junior is all about and why you guys participated. All right, I see I'm gonna have to start calling on people. Nick.
For me, I think Film Prize Junior, like it made me like get more experience of being a filmmaker. I'm already an actor, so like I know like how to like really be on like in front of a camera or like on stage. But as a director or like someone to like make a story on paper and like make it out on like from camera, it's like different sort of medium that I'm attached to. And I'm an artist myself too. I've done art, but I haven't like done like this formation of media. So I love it. It's just awesome to me.
I love that. I love that. And same question to you, Edward, just about Film Prize Junior, how you got into it, how you sort of created that piece that ultimately was picked to allow you to do the vaccine PSA.
I feel like Film Prize Junior was like kind of a head start, especially for people who want to like pursue like the filmmaking career and like acting career, because it's kind of like a head start because like you get the experience really early on as to being able to be your own creative and like being able to go in a competition that like allows everyone to create what they want to create for their stories. But as far as the vaccine, like I was really excited that I got picked because it was kind of like, wow, like kind of like that sense of belief that like you guys believe in us, that our films and our stories were strong enough to be able to go on and tell a story for the vaccine.
Yeah, and again, such an important story to tell. Nick, what was it like when you got picked for this project? And of course, for those people who are out there, we had 68 films from filmmakers, and these students were picked because they're amazing and they can tell beautiful stories, as you'll see when you're able to see these vaccine PSAs, which is just an incredible sort of way to communicate that you should get a vaccine. But Nick, what was it like when you got picked to be a part of this vaccine project?
Honestly, for me, I was surprised because so the way I found out, actually, Mr. Johnson told me about it, like himself personally. I was going to his class and he had spoken to me. He was like, "Hey, Nick, good news, buddy." And so we talked, and like I was like really surprised. I was like, "Oh wow!" So I didn't realize like how much of it would influence my art did in Film Prize Junior, and so like it made me become like able to have like this opportunity to make a commercial for LSUHS Health, and I was like, "Wow!" And so now I'm really more believing more in myself to do more bigger and stronger projects.
I love that. And, again, the goal out there for people who are about to see these vaccines, vaccine PSAs was for these kids to make PSAs that really spoke more to their generation. I'm curious about what you guys learned about vaccines along the way and how you sort of put that into a film that you feel is communicating effectively. And why don't we start with you, Edward?
I honestly feel like, I learned a lot because we had to do research for the vaccine commercial, obviously, but I feel like I learned more than what was needed, like that we had to like embrace in our PSA. But I feel like I learned more because I didn't honestly know what the vaccine was or like how much it helped with COVID. So learning about like the like blockers that it, you know, like it's basically putting COVID in you basically to, you know, like make sure your body is strong enough in case if you actually get it or whatever. So like for me, it was a bigger or more learning experience than it was just to like make the PSA.
And I will tell you, Edward, right now, Dr. Vancheri is smiling just because you have a very, very, very deep understanding of the vaccine and certainly the way that works. Nick, I'm going to kind of turn the question a little bit to you. Learning what you learned about vaccines, how did you come up with your concept that really helped you when people see your vaccine PSA, they're going to understand what I'm saying, but helped you better understand not only vaccines, but how did you conceptualize how you're going to show other people how to get or why they should get a vaccine through your film work?
For me, so like Edward said, like of course you have to like do research for this kind of topic, and so I was trying to like taking an effect of like how people like already see the vaccine, and so not only did I research like into myself about like the vaccine because I had COVID myself too, and so I was like yeah like from like in a teenager's perspective. I would need to get the vaccine too because I would want myself and others to be safe. And so conceptually, I started to like think like we can like actually come together and be a community if we take the vaccine because I know right now like the vaccine is and still has been so construed and like misunderstood, and so we're not really getting to understand like why we need this. And so even from other groups of people or like from whoever you may be, it's not really that understood, and so it's like a lot of chaos and like miscommunication between that. So I just wanted to like give my little 2 cents on like how you should like get and see it.
So same question to you, Edward. I mean, conceptually, and I cannot wait for people to see your vaccine PSA, but conceptually, how did you connect that knowledge that you had and the way you want to communicate to other teenagers and young adults that they should get a vaccine? And talk a bit about your concept too, if you'd like.
Okay. Well, I also caught COVID at the beginning of the summer. So like even getting the opportunity to explain to people why getting the vaccine was so important, it was kind of like a one-sided situation to where like, since I had COVID, like I honestly think that people should get the vaccine because it can stop you or like make you not feel as worse when you get the vaccine or when you catch COVID. So, but my concept for my PSA was supposed to be like a fun like summer party or whatever that like people miss going to without worrying about catching COVID or without worrying about getting sick from it. So I wanted to like create the vibe of you can still go out this summer and like enjoy your life, but like be safe with it as well.
I love that so much. So, we're under a bright light right now. You got the world watching. You guys are about to be watching your vaccine PSAs. We're about to have our world premiere, which is super exciting. Are there any words of advice or encouragement for other kids that are out there that again, you guys did such a great job communicating to your generation, right? I mean, I have a 20-year-old daughter. I have a hard time communicating with her on her level. You guys did a much better job because she's seen them and she loves them. Are there any words of encouragement out there that you want to tell people just from the filmmakers themselves about getting vaccinated, working on this project, how important this project was to you? And
I honestly,
we'll start with you, Edward.
Okay. Just really like the advice that I have is just like because I feel like from COVID, people still feel like you can't do much because you like can't have the vaccine or you don't have the vaccine or whatever. I feel like you should still be able to enjoy your life, but just safely, more safe.
I love that. Same question to you, Nick, really, which is those last words of encouragement to people out there. I mean, you are the filmmaker. You've done a beautiful job. You don't always get to hear from the filmmaker because our work is up on a screen and that's where it should be. But this is one of those wonderful moments that you get to kind of take us out, at least for this portion of the press conference. What would you say to those people out there that need to hear from the filmmaker as to why they should get vaccinated, why they shouldn't be nervous, and, again, any parting words about your PSA?
For me, I would say we're all in this together. Like, we need to really come together as a group and really get vaccinated. I know from experience how you may feel about COVID, or how it shut everything down that you want to do. Because I think when COVID started for me, I was in the middle of a play, and we worked really hard for doing it, and we got completely shut down. And so that whole great period of time, I was down myself about it. And so I feel like we can still do things we like to do while being safe, like Edward said. So I believe wear a mask, get vaccinated, make sure you're more thinking about others and not yourself as well. So that's my little belief about it.
Well, I got to tell you, I am so proud of you guys. And it's so awesome to see our Film Prize Junior grads go on to be in college to study film. It's just so, I don't know, it's incredibly uplifting to see you. While I have you guys on screen, can we do a little Viva la Film Prize Junior while I got you guys? Is that cool? Is that still cool to do when you're in college? I don't know. But we're going to do this really quick, and then we're going to move on to Tom. You ready? We're going to do it on 3. Go unmic yourself. Everyone unmic yourself. Ready on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Viva la Film Prize Junior. There we go. Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Edward Webster and Nick Cosby. And I guess I'm going to turn back over to Stephen, and Stephen will bring up Tom.
All right. Thank each of you for your time this morning. You've been absolutely excellent. Gregory, you just hold on right there because we're going to have Tom on with you in just a few moments. You just heard from the 2 students who created 2 of our 5 really, really amazing PSAs for this vaccination campaign. It was wonderful hearing from them. And of course, if you all have any more questions for them at the end, type them in the Q&A section and or the chat, and we will be bringing you up to do a short interview. Okay, now, Gregory, I'm going to bring up Tom Johnson, who you'll be interviewing with now about the process of mentoring these students.
So I got to tell you, I'm super honored to have Tom up here with me. Tom and I have been working on Film Prize Junior for quite some time. And I think that this opportunity was important to us because, we struggled through sort of the pandemic together. And Tom really was, and I'm not overstating this, helped really save Film Prize Junior in a time that it was a pretty tenuous thing as far as, whether it would continue to exist or not. So I deeply appreciate this man. And I love that you're here. Tom, how's your world, my friend?
Excellent. Busy but excellent. Yeah, and thank you for those words, Gregory. I reciprocate them, obviously.
Well, Tom, when Dr. Vancheri came to me, and I mean, when I say the word wackadoo, I mean that in the nicest way possible. But John is somebody who is, again, he's like us. He is somebody who really wants or knows how to communicate, and definitely wants to communicate, and definitely passionately communicates things that are important to our community, especially during this pandemic, and that was namely keeping us healthy. The segment that I think that we all kind of were figuring out how to communicate with was sort of the high school and up group of young men and women. You, of course, have that golden key, being that teacher that really can energize these students to do amazing things. What was it like? I mean, if you can remember anything about those first conversations that we had about doing this, and what was sort of your memories about guiding these students through the process?
Well, I was extremely excited because COVID had affected my family very, very strongly, you would say. And so I personally wanted to be a part of this when you first brought it to me, I remember kind of like, well, yeah, why aren't we, there's not even a question of this. We're going to do this, and we're going to find the best kids we can get, and we're going to make this happen. And you know, those first few meetings we had about it, and those first few things we were thinking about it, I already had kids in my head, like, oh, I know this kid's going to be good, and this kid would be somebody we want to get. And so for me, it was just, you know, let's get organized and make this happen, because I think it's one of the most important public health things we can do right now. I mean, you know, there's nothing in my lifetime, all right, and I'm not quite as young as you, or not quite as old as you, way younger than you actually, Gregory. But the point is, there's nothing in my lifetime that ever came to this. And I think there was diseases that we knew about and that we'd hear about them on the news, but nothing that just really was this big of an impact on our society. Maybe I can think of a few things, maybe, but nothing that affected everybody. And again, I just jumped at the opportunity. I wanted to do it very, very badly. So
I think it is wonderful that we all kind of live in that same world. That, I mean, all the people on the screen want to do good for our community, want our community to be healthy, want us to be productive and creative and all those things. And you know, you certainly taking this on was a big stride towards. And you know, I think when people see the vaccine PSAs, they'll better understand this. You know, Tom, you were also at the tip of the spear on the production side. I'm curious. Always being on set is interesting, but being on set and doing this important work, especially with people like Edward and Nick, I'm just curious if there are any sort of like behind the scenes, BTS stories you can tell us. Because I mean, it could not have been. I mean, judging, and like I said, everyone will understand when they see the videos, but like, there has to be. Like, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like being out there, and there are two or three that I can just pull out of my head, but like, you were out there for all of them. What was that like?
It was fun. It was challenging. You know, part of the challenge was we were still thick in the pandemic, and so making sure we were being safe and setting up protocols for it. And I've never been on any production, especially that involves young people, where somebody didn't show up. So we had to fill in. My good friend now, Nick, had to make me one of his actors, because one of his actors didn't show up, or even one of them showed up and then just decided she didn't want to do it. So that's the challenge, though, when you're really serious, like these kids we had were, and you're trying to get everybody else involved, and just like trying to do a PSA to change people's mind, it's the same thing in personal relationships. But you know, overall, they went smoothly. There wasn't a lot of, you know, there was some miscommunication here and there. There were some technical challenges on a few things. They were all solvable. It was just something that, you know, and I know you know this very well as Nick and Edward and all the kids who participated. You know, there's always going to be a problem that you're not going to foresee when you go out and actually start shooting. And especially in a situation like, again, in the midst of a pandemic.
You know, it is interesting. I was particularly, if you weren't going to talk about the time that you had your star turn in one of these PSAs, I was going to call it out, just so you know. So I am curious, you know, again, you guys were out there, you're creating, you were certainly the first to see the work that was done. I'm so enamored with all of them, but I'm curious about what you think the potential impact or the hope. What's your hope for the impact that these PSAs will have?
Well, certainly, I hope that it makes people change their mind about it. I hope it inspires somebody to go do the right thing and get vaccinated. And I know that now that we have it available to young people, that this is something that they'll look at and go, oh, this is normal. This is cool. I don't have to look at this negative stuff that I hear about it. Here's some real people doing real things, trying to show what it's really about. And, you know, from one perspective, you know, having someone who's your peer talk to you versus someone who is an adult, you know, and I see this in the classroom all the time. There's a higher percentage of chance that a kid might be able to change another kid's mind versus, you know, a bunch of us just saying, hey, you got to do this and you got to do this. And so from that part of it, you know, that's one of my big hopes, is that these voices that these kids were using for this reach out and actually change some minds and motivate some people to get the vaccine, obviously.
You know, to take us out, Tom, you know, you're somebody, like I said, we worked together on Film Press Union for quite some time. This is really, I think, one of our first opportunities to really show the power of Film Press Union, and certainly the creativity and the potential influence these young filmmakers can have. For those people who are out there watching, or the parents for that matter, what advice would you give them when you think about the power of the communication that we're about to show the world with this vaccine PSA release? I'm just curious, like, what would you tell those other kids that are out there that really are sitting there waiting to do something? And this really shows that the work that you do with these students is incredibly important. So what advice would you give those who are just right on the edge of doing something?
Well, as and Nick will tell you this, and maybe Edward, the times I've got to work with Edward, it's just, well, here's what I'll say. The thing about being creative and using media, it has power. Being able to get a message across, especially in our day and age with the way technology is, there is power to it. And for good or bad, you know, hopefully everyone leans towards the good, but there is a way for you to express yourself, and there is a way for you to communicate not only your feelings and thoughts, but big picture things that can change the world. And media, making film, and being creative, being an artist, is one of those methods to get your voice heard. And I believe that that's probably it. And then I say this too: everybody deserves to have their voice heard. Now, doesn't mean there's consequences, not consequences, but everybody deserves that. And you shouldn't, as a young person, as a young filmmaker, you should realize that, just like Nick, who's been in my class for years, and watching him grow and seeing him build this confidence, and that comes from just doing things. And you build it each time you put your voice in the world, each time you say or use your hands to create something, you get better and better and better. And so that's my advice. Get out there and do it. Let yourself be heard.
I love that. And before I turn this back over to Stephen, I want to thank you again, Tom, for all the work you did. Edward and Nick, you guys blow me away. I just cannot wait for the world to see what you produced. And again, to all the folks over at LSU Health, we are so honored that we were picked to work with you guys, and the work that you guys do is so important to our community and to the health of our community. And again, it was an honor, and we appreciate it, and we look forward to a continued relationship with some pretty awesome people wanting to do pretty awesome things. Thank you so much.
Thank you to both of you who conducted an excellent interview. Thank you, Tom. We'll be seeing you later. And thank you to Gregory, who was our interviewer for today. You always do an awesome job. And now we're going to pass the stage back to Dr. Vanchiri, who's going to talk about the new age release, where you can find these PSAs online, and other details about getting important information about the COVID-19 vaccine. Dr. Vanchiri, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So in terms of the vaccine itself, the vaccines are now available down to age 5. The 5 to 11 age group was opened up for vaccination a couple of weeks ago. And just so folks know, that's a lower dose than what we're using in those over age 12 and over. And that gives us a even better safety and side effect profile that people are very happy with. Vaccines are available at local pharmacies, through local physicians and medical practices, as well as through our site on Linwood Avenue, which is at the old Chevyland car dealership. That's 2627 Linwood Avenue. And our site is open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, like we have done through the last winter and spring. This is a drive-through site, no appointments needed, and folks can pre-register online at our LSUHS.edu website. And that's also a site where you can go to see and have access to the PSAs. And I'm guessing they'll also be available through your website, Stephen, through the Film Prize. So very, very exciting to see these young men and their colleagues and the work they've done. It's very inspiring to see the message that we've talked about, and being translated into the work, creativity of these young minds. And so I thank them from the bottom of my heart for engaging in this effort and being willing to step forward. So thank you.
Alrighty, so thank you all today for your effort